Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 3.
Second of his name.
I am enjoying this show. Are you liking it?
Yes, I think it's because I am not letting myself get taken under.
What do you mean?
By, like, the Game of Thrones of it all. I'm just watching a show every week, and I don't care about it outside that time.
Yeah, to the point where I actually don't like that they're using... Well... I was going to defend them using the Game of Thrones theme, because I was like, that theme can just mean this world.
Sure.
But I find the visuals of it to be extremely underwhelming, and apparently they don't change.
The intro.
Yeah.
I agree. I guess because we are actually not moving locations, it doesn't make sense to have the, like, I don't know, like,
the map.
Wheelie
We could
maps,
be moving within, though, because I don't know where the Stepstones are, and I don't know where. I mean, I'm assuming simultaneously near and far.
Yeah.
I am enjoying it. And I do this this test. I think because we do this, sometimes it's easy for me to get worked up.
Yeah.
Like in my head about entertainment. And so I do this thing sometimes where I just sort of try and remove myself, take a step back, and think, am I enjoying myself? And the answer is largely yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a slow burn, and I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm having a hard time because there's obviously when you're comparing to Game of Thrones, there's a lot of fondness and nostalgia for season 1 of Game of Thrones.
For season 1, for sure.
But I don't remember where that sets in. I don't think it was episode 3. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I feel like I was having a good time and I knew that the show was good, but I think it's like until that moment where Ned is reading the genealogy and realizes that the kids don't belong to Robert, I think that is when you're finally like, oh.
But that's like more than halfway. I think.
Yeah, that's like episode 8.
Yeah. I think my biggest complaint, and this could be more personal, it's definitely a bit more palace intrigue-y, which is what I would ask, what I would want.
Yeah.
But there's not a character that I have glommed onto. There's not someone that I think really stands out in a dynamic way.
Okay.
I think everybody's doing a good job.
Yeah.
And I think they're very standard characters, but there's not like with Game of Thrones, I mean, between, well, just the Lannisters. Tyrion, Cersei.
But even
like,
still, you're like, you got Cersei right out the gate, you got Tyrion right out the gate, even Catelyn is something, Ned is very something, and it's like, you've got Arya and
Sansa.
And even Jon is like doing a thing.
I think the characters are slightly more dynamic because all I've really got here is I find Matt Smith appealing. Paddy Considine he seems fine. He's winning me over. I couldn't tell you who Rhys Ifans is, and I'm looking at a picture of him. I know I hear that name.
He's the Hand of the King. He's Alicent's father.
Yeah. I was like, Alicent's father, I got a handle on that. I like Alicent. People don't like Alicent, and I don't know why. I like her.
People don't like Sansa.
I think but Sansa was a bitch. Alicent's not I think she's navigating a very precarious situation.
That is true.
Extremely gracefully.
I think it's the same thing that when we were covering Euphoria and everybody was like, why don't you like this character? And we're like, you are treating this television show about high school students, or in this case,
a heightened reality,
as black and white morality.
As if it's happening to your personal life.
Yeah, and I'm like, none of this is black and white morality. So the fact that she married her best friend's father is dicey, but it's like,
that wasn't her decision.
Not 100%.
I get why Rhaenyra would be mad at her. Yeah. And if anything, actually, the fact that she's still mad at her, I think makes it better.
That has been 2+ year, like 3 year. Like, let's be generous and say she got pregnant on their wedding night. It's been 2 years and 9 months.
And I'm like, well, if you're going to do it, then go ahead and do it. Yeah. I enjoy that part. But I don't know. I think Alicent had a surprising amount of grace. And I find, as real world icky as it is, and I'm sort of fine. We're watching a fantasy show about historical concepts, like not distant history, but historical concepts. I think that Alicent's relationship with Viserys is interesting.
It's very interesting to me as well. I find it really actually kind of charming.
And you sort of get the sense that they've slept together twice. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't think he's like pawing at her night after night.
But it's like she's actually giving him counsel.
She is definitely giving him counsel. She also, like, I thought it was actually really interesting. They're having a conversation together, I think at the fire, when he's like in his cups completely at the hunt. And
I feel like he's prone to
being in his cups. Yeah. He also is down two fingers now. But she starts off, she calls him Your Grace, and then she calls him something else, and then she calls him My Love.
Mhm.
And only after that, after like 3 or 4 other things, does she call him by his first name. And it's kind of finally like a dude, get with the program.
Mhm.
Like, I am your wife. This is a whole thing. Do your shit. Like,
I feel like there's a pragmatism between the two of them.
yeah.
And,
But
I get that they genuinely like each other, even if it's not love.
I don't think it's like a lustful romantic love.
I think they can make it work.
But I think they like each other enough to have a happy marriage.
From her stance, it's like he's no prize. He's an older man, but it's like
he's the king.
And I mean, there are uglier men on this show. You know what I mean? Like I cannot with the crab feeder, and luckily I'm not going to have too much longer. What is he? What is his entire deal?
Is he turning into a crab? Like, what's happening?
Because we were talking about it during the episode. I was like, I think the crabs are fed.
Yeah, the crabs are
I think the crabs are fed. They're like, oh,
we have had enough.
Yum, yum, yum. Like,
more alive human.
I don't know. But like, who is he and what is he trying to accomplish?
No clue. He didn't do it.
No.
And they're all dead now.
And they were at war with the sea snake, who is Lord Corlys.
Yeah.
Who we haven't seen since the first episode.
He was in this one.
He was?
Yeah. It was him and his brother, and then his son were like at that little council.
I
that
didn't
was
recognize
them.
him.
Yeah.
I recognized his son because you were like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "I'm guessing it's Corlys' son."
He didn't have his hair pulled back in quite the same way, and then there was like also his brother was right there, and so it was like a lot of 3 dudes with white dreads that I was like, okay.
Daemon was meant to be handling this.
Daemon chose to handle this. This was something that Viserys was not getting involved in, very specifically in the first 2 episodes. He was like, hard no. So Daemon was, Corlys in the last episode, after Viserys slighted his daughter, was like, went to Daemon and was like, I'm doing this. We are doing this together. Let's go.
Right.
And so they've been at this now for, again, let's be generous, 2 years and 9 months.
2.5 years.
Yeah. So they've been at this for that long, and they have made basically 0 headway. Their ships keep getting like bombed out of the sky from fire, like trebuchets or whatever. And they're like across the little like water and everything. And he just keeps getting the dudes and feeding them to the crabs.
And I mean, kudos to these soldiers. Their loyalty is not wavering.
No, it is unending.
I'd have been like, I don't know, man.
I really don't want to feel myself be eaten alive by crabs.
Also, I feel like that beach smells terrible.
Oh, real bad.
And then delicious.
When they light it on fire?
With all, yeah.
Without just like crab! Crabs! Okay, so that's what's all been going on. And so then finally, after the hunt and everything for baby Aegon's second name day, Viserys decided to send aid. And so Daemon got the letter, tried to beat the messenger to death.
He shot the messenger.
He absolutely shot the messenger.
He shat the messenger.
And then proceeded to row himself
row that boat
alone across this little inlet and go pretend like he was surrendering,
which is a little uncouth, is it not?
It's not great.
I was like, that's cheating.
It's not super ethical in the art of war. So he pretends to surrender, and then he starts just absolutely wasting dudes. It was a miraculous scene. I thought it was really great.
You are right, though. This was 2 different episodes.
It was.
I'm sort of fine with it. Yeah. And I was going to make a note. I'm handling the passage of time well, because I think the heads up helped.
Yeah.
But they do little things, like for instance, Rhaenyra's hair was flat ironed in this episode.
Yeah.
And I think that's especially for modern eyes, that's a nice subtle,
She's older.
not subliminal, but like, yeah, because a girl would have more.
She's like more into it now.
I think Millie's good.
Oh, she's very good. I think the thing that I really liked about the Daemon part of it is that he was like, oh, well, now my brother's sending help, so I have to win first. And then he does, and I'm like, why haven't you been doing this the entire time? You could have done this on any day.
He didn't have the motivation of white hot spite.
That's fair. White hot spite.
He was complacent.
White hot spite is a hell of an instigator.
I wonder where his girl is.
I really appreciated that he just was like, oh, now you're gonna send help? Fine, I'll do it myself. And so Lord Corliss's boy has a dragon as well, and he flies in.
Is our...
That's the third dragon. That's our third dragon.
That we've seen.
Yeah.
Are we counting the egg? It had a really... Whatever the egg was in episode 2, the type of dragon had a really boss name, and I don't remember what it was, like a Dream Slayer or something.
Oh,
it had a boss name, and I was like,
I like that.
That's metal.
Yeah. So it's the third actual breathing dragon that we've seen. And,
I really like, I think it's Caraxes is Daemon's.
The red one.
I fucking love, because it's very pointy.
Yeah.
And its back legs.
It has a real hippie shake thing that it does.
And its back legs are like webbed, pointy.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. It has like a knifey tail, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
It's like
spiked prongs.
Yeah, it's like this. Yeah. But also because Daenerys's were technically wyverns. There's different types of, and this I don't know. I'm sort of in it.
Cool.
We're still at a half zero peeps.
Yeah,
zero.
One mutilated peep.
Yeah. That's peep watch.
Just to keep that going. So he basically they waste everybody. He cuts the crab feeder in half and drags his like carcass onto the beach.
Quick work.
Well, he's like something is wrong with him, so he can't be that good at fighting.
Oh, the crab feeder. I thought you were talking about Daemon. I was like, yeah.
No, what's wrong with Daemon is all up here. What was wrong with the crab feeder was everywhere. Something on the whole body.
Truly repulsive.
It was really bizarre and gross.
The rest of it was the hunting trip and the name day.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra is a pretty well-trodden princess trope.
I think she's doing it so well. I think
she's doing it very well.
Yeah. And I actually shockingly think they're writing it really well.
Uh-huh. And it's her steeliness that works, because I LOL'd like 3 different times, and I technically watched this twice.
Yeah.
Both times. And I loved when they were in the carriage and she like mutters under her breath.
Yeah.
And her dad was like, excuse me. And she like
just said it
barks
louder.
It back at him.
It was like, as I'm constantly reminded. She pulls that twice in this episode.
I think she's doing a good job.
Well, also, I mean, if she's only meant to be 17, that's like classic 17-year-old behavior, whether you're fucking queen or not, you know? And so she's also the whole bit with like, she had like a bard in the Godswood with her. And then Alicent came out, who is heavily pregnant again. We didn't mention that. And she basically, it was just sort of like a pissing contest when it was like, the bard stopped because the queen came in.
But again, Alicent isn't running roughshod over her.
No,
like,
she's
not
definitely
putting her in her place.
No, definitely not.
I like it. I don't, like I said, I've seen a lot of negativity, and maybe it's people who've read the books and know where we're going, but I don't know. I like her. I actually really liked this hunting plot. Yeah. And by that, I hated it. I mean, it was very upsetting. Yeah. But I think to take time, easily 15 minutes, if not 20 minutes of this episode, was sort of just not wallowing, but just sort of steeping in the moral conflict of hunting for sport.
Okay.
And I think that was very interesting.
I suspect they ate that deer.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, as you said while we were watching this is not hunting. And, you know, I think it was world informing. I think it was character informing. I think it could have felt extremely heavy-handed in a, you know, duality of man type situation. And, you know, as someone who does eat meat, you know.
That wouldn't be my job in the village.
No, I don't know. I wish I had something more profound to say other than I found it profound.
Yeah.
But I thought it was very interesting. And even there's the symbolism of the white heart, which is heavy-handed, but again, also just done well. If you're gonna do a classic, do it well.
Yeah.
And to have Rhaenyra just enjoy it and choose not to.
You're not supposed to kill the white heart. I just don't know who else needs to be told that. You're not supposed to. So I think that was, and again, it goes to the profundity of the episode where it's like, because he wanted that sign that he should pass over Rhaenyra and make Aegon his heir, he didn't get it. And because Rhaenyra was like off doing her own thing and seeking, you know, like
doing
a
what
sign.
she would.
Exactly. She
not what
was,
she's meant to.
She was given that sign.
He was trying to marry her to Charlie from Hereditary. It was not working.
Okay. His name is Jason.
Was Todd, his brother, not available?
Okay. Jason Lannister is a dumb name.
I do love that. I think it was Bobby Moynihan doing George R.R. Martin, where he was like talking about how big the books are and they run out of, there's so many characters that you start off with these names like Daenerys and this and that. He goes, and then by the end, you're like Rob
and John, Ned. So he is every inch the Lannister, and he is so smarmy.
Well, I like the Lannister. I'm a Lannister.
Not you like him?
No.
Yeah, okay.
I was gonna say they weren't showing up for me.
No,
today.
it was no bueno. And so Rhaenyra very rightly is like, "Are you out of your goddamn mind? I'm not marrying."
But again,
him.
even that she handled it.
Yeah,
she handled it well. It's the steeliness.
Although they did start shouting at each other in public.
But that was actually great because she doesn't care.
Yeah.
If anything, it was just further embarrassing him.
Exactly.
And
I did love that at the end he just was like, you have to get married, but you can choose whoever you want, but you have to do it. And I think that's a reasonable compromise for a princess. So also the Jason Lannister was like, well, you know, once she's not your heir anymore, then she'll be like, it'll make up for the loss in station. And fucking Viserys was like, beg pardon? I don't think so.
It's subtle. It's a little bit more subtle, but I am enjoying it, and I am like, I have the patience and commitment to it.
Yeah.
That as long as it's able to grow into this thing, I have the most confidence now at this point.
Yeah. There was also when she comes back and she's covered in the boar's blood, her and Sir Criston like are away together for the night, like because she just doesn't want to be involved in the hunt.
I know we're meant to, but Sir Criston, right?
Yeah.
Like for her.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
100%.
Can she marry him?
I don't think she can marry him. She can definitely fuck him if she wants to. Well, actually, she 100% can't fuck him. He's in the Kingsguard. They're not allowed to marry. It's like a whole thing.
Sure.
It's why it was such a big deal that Jaime joined the Kingsguard, because that's why Tywin was so pissed at him. Anyway, when she gets back and she's all covered in blood, if Jason Lannister sees her, and it is so subtle. No, it's so subtle. He just does a tiny little sneering lift of one side of his lip. Hysterical. I like almost lost my shit. And then there was a moment where Otto was talking to the king and he was trying to propose.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is I was like, we finally said the thing that we've been terrified of.
Oh, well, not even that. Okay. When Otto was like, she has to marry. And the whole time I just was like, so nervous that he was going to be like, she should marry me. And I was like, ugh.
Well, but no, he proposes her 2-year-old brother.
Well, he does that, and then someone else suggests Corlys' son, who seems to be well into his teens at this point. He claims that it's like just as like a placeholder to like keep people from talking shit or whatever, but I don't know. And then he gets back in Alicent's ear about trying to make her son, to make Aegon the heir. And she like almost does. She almost talks about it, but then he has the letter. From Corlys.
Because that's when I was like, I like Alicent, because I was like, she had real big, like, I don't know, Dad, I'm kind of in the middle of your last favor energy.
I'm 11 months into it.
Like, during that scene. So yeah, I'm in. I'm enjoying myself. And especially if it goes somewhere.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's giving
I think it's
giving me just you wait.
Yeah.
That's what it's giving me right now.
Well, also that was the other thing I was going to say is I think you were saying you were waiting for somebody like a really dynamic character. And that's not to say that these people are doing anything wrong, but we are about to get a humongous cast shakeup with like way more proven actors, and I'm wondering if that will jumpstart something. Like Olivia Cook's Crazy Eyes. I was like,
I need a crazy woman.
I'm like waiting for bonkers Alicent. Like that's where I'm waiting for.
So, okay. Like and subscribe and follow and Patreon and bye.
Bye.